En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amén. Bajo tu amparo nos acogemos, Santa Madre de Dios. No desoigas las súplicas que te dirigimos en nuestras necesidades. Antes bien, líbranos siempre de todo peligro. Oh Virgen gloriosa y bendita.
Santa María del Camino,
Llévanos sanas y salvas a nuestro destino.
el Señor es mi pastor.
Nada me falta. En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amén.
Cuidado y te traigo un bolsito.
Sí. Gracias.
Hurricane Maria is devastating the Caribbean. Not only have people lost boats, cars, and other material possessions, but now power is a luxury. The force of the storm knocked out the island's entire energy grid. More than 12,000 people are in shelters all across the island.
Lo peor ha sido durante y después del huracán María, porque significó el que nuestros empleados no pudieran trabajar, el que no pudiéramos brindar los servicios y el saber que había gente muriendo porque no tenía lo esencial. Yo recuerdo haber visitado a una persona que era recién diagnosticada de cáncer de riñón. Cuando volvimos al otro día para llevarle una compra, ya había muerto. Ese tipo de cosas, ¿verdad? El no tener la energía, el no tener los recursos, va drenando, ¿verdad?, las energías del pueblo. Que a la misma vez nos hace resilientes, pero es una lucha que vivimos.
Centro Buen Pastor is an incredible center. It's a part of the Catholic Church here on the island, and they provide all sorts of services. They have family therapy clinic here. They support a lot of the school programs. A lot of the kids come here and participate in different activities, including planting plants at the greenhouse. So they provide services to families, not only in Guaynabo, by the way, island-wide. So folks come from as far as 3 hours away to participate in these programs, and so they're critical not only to the community where they are, but they're also critical to the island. So solar was installed in 2024, but the process started in 2023 when I first met Sister Huidalis at Centro Buen Pastor. During a natural emergency, folks can go and get resources, get support, maybe in some cases find a place to sleep. They could charge their phones. They could bring in their medicine and leave it at a refrigerator so they could still use it. They could come use their medical equipment here. Then it becomes an issue not of not having electricity only, but of life and death.
Oh, I should have my card hat on. We've got impact.
I got the impact.
We have end bolts.
The pollution that's associated with setting things on fire kills 9 million people a year on this planet, 1 death in 5. So half of the joy of a world that runs on clean energy is that you avoid all that. We can power ourselves without breaking our planet. That would be nice. But the other half is that it's liberating. Instead of depending on a few places around the world that have concentrations of fossil fuel, and on the people who own those concentrations and end up with way more power than they should, we have an entire planet able to power itself from stuff that it has close to hand, because everybody has sun and everybody has wind. And nobody can hoard it. Nobody can hold it in reserves. It's there for all of us to use. So it's a very different world that we're on the edge of being able to create.
Our neighborhood in Denver and Colorado generally seems like there's a lot of people have solar on their homes. So we had looked into it. We understood it was good for the environment. It would save us some money. But again, the return on investment wasn't there when we were first looking at it. Denver has a very good sustainability program, and I got an email from them telling us about the Solar United Neighbors Co-op. So we did the application, sent it in, everything was approved, and we just kind of went from there.
My team does everything that's related to increasing access to solar. We do low income and income qualified pilots. When you're working in certain states and certain areas, talking about environmentalism and why you want to save the planet and why you want to go solar isn't necessarily the message is going to get them to go solar. Now, if you're talking about energy independence and energy freedom and taking control over where your energy comes from, that message tends to hit home.
We were paying out anywhere from around $200 to $250 a month in just electricity. But like the electricity bill came last month was $11.
If other people's, expenses are fluctuating because of the cost of utilities, of gasoline, we're not impacted by that anymore. That's a great thing when you're entering retirement, is to not know, when property taxes are going to change, property insurance is changing, groceries, all those, things that you need to have. You've now fixed your cost at zero by not buying gasoline for our EVs, by not burning gas in our home. We've reduced our utility and petroleum expenses about $3,800 a year.
The Bell telephone system brings you one of a series of programs on science to understand nature's laws.
Every day I send you 1,000 times more power than you use in a year. It's up to you, fellows.
Anybody working on getting power direct from old Blowhard here?
Well, the science boys have come up with a sunshine kick that makes electricity out of your sunlight.
Oh, yes. You mean the solar battery?
Yeah.
That's hardly even a cookie yet, let alone a cake.
Doc, that's big news.
The solar cell is an American triumph, invented in 1954 at Bell Labs in New Jersey.
The solar battery. Now, held in the sun, this thin little cell, a sunshine wafer we might call it, produces a usable amount of electric current out of the sunlight that falls on it. It was cooked up out of basic research at the Bell Telephone Lab.
Although this is quite expensive at the moment, the simplicity of this sunshine wafer is startling.
Very steadily, for the last 70 years, engineers and scientists have brought the price down of solar panels to, in the last 3 or 4 years, bring us past some invisible line where power from the sun is now the cheapest way to produce energy on this planet, cheaper than burning coal or gas or oil. I don't think we've quite realized yet that we've crossed it. We've spent so many years calling this stuff alternative energy that it hasn't completely sunk in that it's now the obvious mainstream energy.
Today, the vast majority of what we add to the grid worldwide, but also here in the United States, is wind, solar, and battery storage. Over 90% of everything that we added to the grid last year was solar, wind, and battery storage. And so not only can solar, wind, and battery storage play an essential role in helping us to provide reliable electricity all year round, it's already doing it. What differentiates people that are in the top billion around the world that has access to all of these modern flourishes is low-cost energy. And where we are now is that everyone around the world is going to get access to low-cost energy. When you see the dislocation in electricity that occurred in Pakistan, what did people do? They didn't turn to diesel generators, they turned to solar panels. And they went from 1,000 megawatts a year of deployment to 12,000 megawatts a year in less than 18 months, right? That's the power of solar, is that you can actually bring huge amounts of solar power, battery storage, charge controllers, and you can use a YouTube video to put it together. right? That's how simple it is. It's plug and play, right? And so when you think about where we are right now, we are in a place where we are simplifying energy and electricity and making it accessible to everybody. You want to do it yourself? You can get a discount to do it yourself. You want to work with your community? You can work within your community to get a buying pool together to do things together. You want to work in clean energy and you work with your hands? You can do that. It's a career that you can actually get in the clean energy space. Everybody is welcome into the clean energy space, and everyone is needed to get us to where we need to get to, which is energy abundance.
New York City now taking steps toward making public schools more sustainable. Today, officials announced new solar panels in more than 70 schools, and they believe this technology will be an investment in clean energy that'll benefit future generations.
Students, teachers, environmental activists, and union workers who will install the panels celebrated at PS 19 East Village Community School this morning. It's one of the first schools to get solar panels. The City Council unanimously passed the bill in September.
This is really for our young people here. This is our chance, and this is really our commitment in action.
New York City has a huge role to play. We're the largest municipality in the whole country. What we do often sets the stage for what other municipalities imagine they can do and start to see that they can do. We've had a lot of inquiries from other cities about wanting to replicate this bill and wanting to do this in other places in the Midwest and smaller towns. And so we're looking at about 7,000 buildings across the city that are solar eligible, that are city-owned properties. Solar is the future, and I think it's a way for us to build resiliency and independence from the power of oil and gas. But also, as we move into a very uncertain future, we need to have this infrastructure set up. You know, we don't want to be trying to rapidly install this kind of infrastructure coming from a disadvantaged position of we're already in a really bad place. We should be like really thinking ahead and anticipating where we're really going to need to install this infrastructure and just get it done now while we have our heads above water in some way.
El mismo día que nos instalaron las placas solares, tuvimos un apagón masivo en Puerto Rico. Ese día yo me asusté mucho porque yo me sorprendí cuando vi que entraron las placas. Era como que no sabía cómo iba a reaccionar. Incluso recuerdo que llamé a David porque tenía miedo de cómo iba a reaccionar, qué tenía que hacer, y simplemente no tenía que hacer nada.
¿Me puedes preguntar a mí?
¿Cuánto tiempo lleva en ese punto?
54 años. Ay, en verdad que esto es una bendición. Tener unas placas que uno siente que pueda tener luz con esta problemática que hay en Puerto Rico de la luz. Ustedes no nos retiren las placas porque yo voy y busco una placa de esas y le doy por la cabeza. Un besito.
Sí, pues, cuando nos encontramos, familia completa,
besito.
Es como una convención.
La energía solar, y gracias a las placas solares han podido darle pues seguridad a muchas de nuestras hermanas que dependen de estar conectadas, por ejemplo, para dormir en las noches, porque tienen diagnosticado apnea de sueño, que es que se quedan sin aire, y eso es debido a muerte. Está también el uso de las camas en las hermanas mayores para subirlas y bajar, para poderles dar la alimentación, medicamentos que necesitan refrigeración las 24 horas, como es el caso de los diabéticos. Y en el caso también específicamente de la hermana Polonia, que tiene cáncer, que ha estado recibiendo mucha quimioterapia, a veces 3 y 4 días corridos, su temperatura, ¿verdad?, corporal sube mucho y ella necesita las 24 horas el uso del aire acondicionado.
Ha sido un proceso fuerte, un poco doloroso. Cuando a uno le dan la noticia, uno se queda como y impactada, un poquito como que no entiendo qué pasó aquí. Te cambia la vida, me cambió la vida, me ha cambiado mucho la vida. Entonces, poder contar con ese servicio que entre la placa solar, entonces por lo menos tenemos ahí algunas horas, 4 horas de luz. Y es interesante porque la quimio te ponen con un caliente y hacen que uno sude mucho. Con el calor que está haciendo también, entonces uno puede tener el abanico.
I'm Bruce Kaplan. I live in Bethlehem. I've been here for about 16, 17 years. I was on the select board for 6 years. I just rolled off this past election year. And now I spend most of my time either working on energy stuff or on biking stuff.
I've been up here for about 32 years. I've retired from teaching high school science, physics, chem, a few years ago. I do some part-time work building kind of pretty nice, highly energy efficient homes with some good folks. And I've been on the Energy Commission for, I'm not sure how many years now, but quite a few.
Longer than me.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been on 7 years now.
The town solar project, which is actually 3 different arrays, that was roughly a $500,000 project, but we received funding for all of it, $150,000 of it. So you start looking at that, and I haven't penciled this out, but by the time you get renewable energy credits and just the energy that it produces, the payback time is way smaller than even just the 8 years that a typical home system would have.
The project was to build the arrays large enough to cover all consumption of the town's municipal electric needs.
Going through the whole process, working with folks who have all these questions and a little bit of worry, will this all work out? We trust you guys, but we don't like to move too quickly. Okay, we've done this. And then you finally get through the cycle and the season, and they start getting their bills, and they're like, wow, highway department's bill for this month is negative $1,000. Oh, and I think Susie here just got a bill for one of the last few months that was, instead of $2,400, it was like $600, something like that. So It's fun to see people seeing that concrete result economically when they already were probably pretty well convinced that it would make sense to do it environmentally, but sure is good to see the money coming in.
Yeah, in the end, the pitch is all about money. Mm-hmm. And everyone can appreciate money. And when you tell them we have a $500,000 project, everyone gets nervous. When you tell them we have funding for almost all of it, Dan mentioned $150,000. Of that $150,000, we got a 30% tax credit on that. So in the end, it's $120,000 for a $500,000 project, which payback is going to be about 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. Nobody can look at that and say, I don't want to do it.
Right.
On this vote, the yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
The Senate passed the Trump-backed Big Beautiful Bill on Tuesday, which means getting these could become even more expensive.
Major changes coming to clean energy. Critics say it's not only bad for the climate, but could also mean higher bills.
Would end clean energy tax credits.
Roll back any tax credits for wind and solar farms abruptly, almost immediately. That was supposed to be in place for the next several years under former President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act.
You're looking good. Good to see you, man.
How you doing? Trump and his people illegally killed the $7 billion program we had for Solar for All, but we're going to be in the courts, and I'm not sure that we will not, at the end of the day, win. It is not a complicated idea. It's a very simple idea. As you know better than anybody else in America, when you install solar panels, you save substantial sums of money on your electric bill, and you cut carbon emissions, and you create jobs for the people who are installing it and the people who are manufacturing the panels. Not complicated. So in my case right here in this house, Jane and I installed solar, I think it was about 10 years ago. And Jane reminds me today that we, in the summertime, don't have a bill at all. I think we get credit. Probably, I'm guessing, on average, our electric bill has gone down by about 90%. So we pay virtually nothing for electricity. And it cost us, we think, we're not sure, about $16,000. So what Solar for All legislation that I passed does is it provides help to people with that initial investment. All right, so we help you with your $16,000, you pay it off over a period of time, and actually a lot of the states will determine the regs for it. But bottom line is you're not going to pay any more for your electric bill, and then at a period of time you will own your panels and your electric bill goes down 90%. So it's hard to not, I think the overwhelming majority of people think a concept like this makes sense.
There's no one who's spoken more forcefully about oligarchy in our society. I reflect sometimes that, it kind of, in certain ways, kind of started with John D. Rockefeller and the fact that you could control something as important as the energy that people required for their homes. What would it mean to have a world where everybody could access power for free from the sun?
Just think about it. Number one, for the poorest people around the world who don't have access to electricity, it means they have all of the advantages that electricity brings. To people in the developed world, it means you don't have to pay an electric bill. It means that you can bring electricity to areas that are fairly isolated, that electricity, it's hard to get through. So having a increasingly inexpensive source of endless electricity is just an extraordinary development for humanity.
So let's talk about who might not like the idea that we can now get cheap power from the sun and the wind. If you think about it, it's not a very hard puzzle to figure out. The people who won't like it, don't like it, are fighting it, are people who own coal mines and oil and gas wells. Because all of a sudden, if we take seriously the need to make this transition, then the stuff they're sitting on is worth a lot less than it was yesterday. We don't really need it anymore. We don't need to be setting things on fire. So the oil and gas and coal lobby has been doing everything they can not to stop this transition. That's almost certainly impossible. At a certain point, just the sheer laws of economics will get it done. But to slow it down, to maintain as much of their business model as they can for as long as they can.
What is going on in this country now, in so many ways, including energy, is I use the word insane advisedly here, because when you have a technology that can substantially reduce carbon emissions and help us deal with the existential threat of climate change, and you have an administration that, against virtually every scientist who has studied the issue, doesn't even acknowledge the reality of climate change and is working overtime to increase carbon emissions, to give more tax breaks and subsidies to the billionaires who run the oil industry. If that is not a definition of insanity, I don't know what is. Why anybody, Trump has grandchildren, why anybody would want to sacrifice the future of this planet so that the richest people in America can become richer is literally beyond my comprehension.
It's really scary to see someone undo so much work, especially when it's about jobs and workers. It's just insane, especially in red states where they were getting the priority of the IRA, It's like shooting yourself in the foot. Hopefully across the country we can mobilize and fight back and take back the House and take back positions in our state houses that have a lot of power over these decisions so that we can have a fighting chance here.
lo que está pasando en Estados Unidos pues tiene consecuencias bien significativas para Puerto Rico, porque realmente aunque no somos un territorio no incorporado, ¿verdad? En otras palabras, somos una colonia de Estados Unidos. Y pues siempre hemos visto cómo la colonia sufre con mayor crudeza los efectos. Pues somos la humanidad responsable de lo que está pasando y nos toca de una manera u otra el poder arreglar todo esto que hemos hecho mal durante tanto tiempo.
Not only am I confident that the clean energy industry will survive, but it's going to thrive. When you think about just how complicated all of these, tax credits and local permitting and all these other things have become, all of this is going to get simplified, right? You're not going to need a CPA, an accountant, a lawyer, and all these other things just to be in this business. You're going to see just a huge movement of local people deciding that they're going to switch their careers to clean energy, and it's so exciting.
Pues para el Centro Buen Pastor, entonces que siga siendo, como decía nuestra fundadora, que Buen Pastor siga siendo como una luz para nuestro querido Puerto Rico y que desde aquí pueda alumbrarse mucho y que muchas comunidades puedan recibir los servicios y se puedan potenciar.
It's sunny every day. I don't care where you live, but you're always going to get sun and you're always going to be using electricity, so why not try and make the best of it and save a little bit of money? Free energy.
In so many ways, from an energy perspective, from an economic perspective, from a healthcare perspective, what Trump stands for is not in any way, shape, or form what a majority of the American people want to see. And it's always important to have that. So you go out and you tell people, is climate change real? They say yes. Is solar a positive development helping us cut carbon emissions? Of course it is, overwhelming majority of the people. Do you think it's a good idea that you can save 80-90% in your electric bill? Are you kidding? Yeah, obviously.
The sun is the most charismatic object in our material universe. Though you can't look at it directly, it's just stunning to think about what it means. The sun gives us light, the sun gives us warmth, the sun gives us photosynthesis, and now the sun is willing to give us all the power that we could ever need. That's remarkable.
We live in a really dark time. I don't think there's any sense sugarcoating that. It's as dark a time as I ever remember. But there is this one light shining, literally, the light of the sun transmuted through these simple technologies that provide us with the energy that we need. That light's shining, and if we do our job, that light won't dim. It will just grow steadily stronger and stronger. That's our job now.
¿Quieres